Florida and Florida State get set to do battle down in Gainesville. We are here previewing, predicting, and breaking down this game between the Gators and the Seminoles. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips. He's Cole Thompson. We appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. As always, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube, guys. We are inching ever so close to that 30,000 subscriber mark. We can't do it without your love and support. Also, make sure you check out our friends over at FANDUEL, because as always, we are brought to you by our friends at FANDUEL, FANDUEL.com/SECU to join today and get started with $250 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, that's FANDUEL.com/SECU to get in on the action today. To say it's been an underwhelming season in the Sunshine State for both Florida and Florida State, well, that's putting it lightly. But either way, hey, winning your rivalry game, winning the showdown at the end of the season, a lot of sins can be forgiven if you can do that. Mike Norvell on one side, and we got an interim and Billy Gonzalez on the other. Who's going to be the next Florida coach? That's what most Gators are concerned with. But either way, one more opportunity at the Swamp for Florida. It's Florida State. One of the best rivalries in college football when things are going right. Certainly, I don't think this year falls under that category. Either way, though, we're excited to be here and break down this matchup, Florida State. I am Chris Phillips. Joining me, as he always does, my co-host, colleague, partner in crime, one of the best in the business, Mr. Cole the Bear Thompson. Bear, like I mentioned, this rivalry has seen some incredible matchups over the years. You think back to the 90s when it was Spurrier and Bobby Bowden, and, even going into the 2010s when Jimbo Fisher had his great run. And, there's been some fun games. This one might fall under the pillow fight category, but either way, expect the unexpected when these two tangle up, because it's been a very interesting season for both, to say the least.
Well, Mike Norvell no longer is coaching for his job because he was promised to come back next year. That means that you're cheap and that you don't want to pay the buyout. So, okay, understandable. But for Florida State, the good news is that you win, you're going to a bowl game. And don't get me wrong, it's not the season that you envisioned. You went 2-10 last year. You're bowl eligible a year later after having a slew of new pieces come on in via the portal and still being very underwhelming on both sides of the ball. So consider that a victory in a small, slight way, not what your expectations are, but enough to say, hey, it could be worse, because it very well could be worse. You beat Alabama, which is like your one sense of hope. You beat another SEC team, you can say, hey, we're better than several teams in the SEC. We can actually win in this conference. As for Florida, I think the main storyline that you're paying attention to is which players are making it clear they are bought into Florida, because of the way that they show up on Saturday may give you an indication on where they stand. They are 3-8 right now. It is very hard to get on up and try to win when you are a 3-8 football team. But it is a rivalry matchup. It could be a game to where we finally see Jaden Baugh become the first Florida running back since 2015 to rush for 1,000 yards in a season. Still some things to play for. What is going to be the morale and the spirit down in the Swamp come 2:30 on Saturday afternoon?
Yeah, Bear, like you mentioned, it's actually a 3:30 Central Time kickoff, which is strange enough. I don't think I've ever seen that before. It's a 4:30 Eastern Time kick via the friends over at ESPN. They very well could be wrong. ESPN2 kick. I guess ESPN de Ocho was not available.
The CW network didn't want this game. That was the main thing.
Not. The game being played down in Gainesville, Florida at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, a.k.a., of course, the Swamp. Bear, via our friends at FanDuel, the Gators are a 1.5-point favorite. The over-under is set at 51.5. Florida does lead the all-time series 38-28-2, which kind of surprised me from the standpoint. I thought they would have played more over the years. Either way, 38-28-2. Last meeting came last year. Florida won that game by a score of 31-11. And Bear, you already talked about it. I'll jump right into it. When it comes to this game, I think the biggest question I have for Florida is just, what is the level of want to? What is the motivation? Are you able to rally the troops and put together even 70% of your best performance, 80%? Or has this team quit? Is this team just, have they mailed it in? Hey, we'll see you in 2026 with a new head coach? Or is there some fight left in this group? Is Billy and you know what I say? Can Billy Gonzalez? It's not about Billy Gonzalez. It's about this team, about these players. How much pride do you have in the Gator logo? How much pride do you have in the orange and blue? How much pride do you have in going up against your rival? There's obviously so much familiarity in this game as there is in so many other rivalry games as well. But being in the state of Florida, this one's important, man. I think this one's important for just the pride, the overall sense of pride for the fan base. Does it mean everything in the grand scheme of things? No, because you've already fired your coach. You're starting a new regime after this, and all this will kind of be washed away. But, I think you and I both would agree Florida's got the talent to win this game. Do they have the want to is the bigger question.
From a composite ranking standpoint, which is always really big when it comes to deciding on why a team is favored, they have still a top 12 to 15 roster in college football. Now, the problem is that it's on paper and there's been a ton of injuries. I mean, you don't have like 4 of your top receivers. You're down multiple offensive linemen. You're down several defensive linemen. So the injury bug is definitely a big time factor with all this. But at the same time, the way that I look at this, Chris, is that this is an audition for 2 things. Number one, your next head coach. Do you believe that the guy who is going to come on in and be the heir apparent to Billy Napier wants you on the staff? Because one of the first things that they do when they bring in a staff is they look at you top to bottom and they watch the film and say, son, we think that you're better suited to play elsewhere. Hey, when we come and we go to the portal, we're bringing in a lot of wide receivers. You are one that we are guaranteeing is not only going to have a roster spot, but it's going to be a big time factor for us. So that's number one. Or number two, you've already made up your mind. You can't use up your eligibility because you can't burn it at this point. So you're telling everybody, okay, I'm going to be leaving. I need to have good film and great tape that I can put out there and say, this is what you're going to see from me at the next level. This is why I can come on in and be a great starter elsewhere. And this goes for a lot of players. Vernell Brown being one, Jaden Baugh being another. How about DJ Lagway? Nothing is promised now with a new head coach coming on in. They may want to go in a complete different direction at quarterback. You've had 13 touchdowns against 13 interceptions. You didn't have a turnover last week against Tennessee, but that offensive production was anemic at best in the first half. At best. And yeah, you were able to score 11 points in the second half, but let's just call it as is, dude. They took their foot off the gas out in Rocky Top. They went into your backyard and said, no, we're going to win for the first time in 2 decades. That's good enough. We don't need to embarrass them in front of their hometown fans. We'll let Florida State potentially handle that. So there's an opportunity for them to really kind of wake on up. I think that you're going to have to see a little bit more fight because Florida State on the same token, they do have talent. It isn't like they're a team that isn't filled with names that could eventually become pretty big fixtures at the NFL level. I mean, they got Deuce Robinson that's got over 1,000 receiving yards. They got Tommy Castellanos that can make plays. They got a good run defense that is easily going to shut down Jaden Baugh if you give them the opportunity to. So both sides really need to show on up, but the fight for Florida in front of your hometown crowd, like the Swamp should never be dead. And it was dead by the time we got to halftime last week. You can't have that happen back-to-back weekends.
I think you make a great point, Bear, about just if you need motivation, if you're a Gator player, which I don't know how you would, but yeah, this is essentially a tryout for your next head coach. I mean, he's going to be coming in, looking at the roster, determining who he wants to keep, who he doesn't. If you go out there and half-ass it or just don't try or whatever in this rivalry game, what does that say about you as a player? So you'll learn a lot about guys as competitors and their character and, again, their want to and their care level. Bear, you look at Florida State last week against NC State, comedy of errors. Like this game to me, pitch up a tent because this thing's going to be a circus. This game, some ball games are won, most ball games are lost. I feel like this is a game where someone's going to lose this game, not necessarily someone is going to win it, if that makes sense. So, I mean, it'll probably be high on the entertainment value perspective, but not on the high quality of football perspective.
No, look, I'll love it. To be fair,
sicko game.
For the Florida State side of things, too, listen, Norvell's not getting fired. That does not mean that Tony White's coming back. That does not mean that the Gus bus is going to be parked in Tallahassee for another year. That does not mean that they are making changes to the personnel group. So there's a lot of things on the line for Florida State with this coaching staff. You kind of have to show on out and prove why you belong to be a part of the long-term future and hopefully the revival of Florida State football in 2026. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they respond. Honestly, Florida State is not as bad as they look. And what I mean by that is they're 5-6. The mental errors that they have had this season, from the NC State game to the Stanford game to what you had in the matchup against even in a win against Virginia Tech, how you played against Pitt, how you gave it up against Clemson. There's been so many things that have gone wrong from a mental side of things. Well, it's either win and you go to a bowl game or lose and your season's over. Can you have 3.5 quarters of not mistakes? Like, honestly, if you give me 40 minutes of complimentary, pristine, no turnover football. I think that there is so much more fight right now for Florida State than there is for Florida, that alone will probably get you the win. But if Florida doesn't have any turnovers and you have 5 or 6, guys, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. You're not winning the football game. All it takes when you face off against SEC teams, like treat this like it's an SEC versus SEC matchup. For Florida State, if you treat this like we cannot afford 3 turnovers because they're only going to give us 1. All right, you're going to win the football game. If you end up losing the turnover battle and you end up losing the time of possession and you are the more penalized team, which, by the way, coming into this matchup, Florida is the more penalized team. So if you end up having the enigma of Florida, guys, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. You probably need to fire Mike Norvell because it does not get much better. This is a downtrodden, desolately, almost no will to live Gators roster. If you lose to them, that says a lot about the culture that is currently being built up in Tallahassee.
Gonna be ugly. we're gonna watch it and enjoy it either way. I think this is one of those rivalry games where truly throw the record books out the window for this one. Unpredictable. Who knows what these two teams are going to trot out there. Bear, that being said, let's lock in some picks. Let's lock in some predictions. You want the honors? You want me to start first?
I'll let you go first on this one.
Like I said, ugly game, sloppy game. Neither one of these teams obviously even remotely lived up to the expectations they had for their ball clubs. For Florida, you wonder how much of the focus is on this game, how much of the focus is on finding your next head football coach. What is the swamp going to be like? What is the atmosphere going to be like for this game? Meanwhile, for Florida State, like you said, opportunity to get to a bowl game. Against my better judgment, I'm going to go Florida. I think Florida rallies the troops one final time. It is going to be a test of the culture. It is going to be a test of the want to. It's a banged up group. I think Florida State is such a mistake-prone football team. Again, a team's going to lose this game. I don't know if anybody's going to win it. One team's going to lose it. After what I saw with them in NC State, it's a coin flip. One of them is going to make the blunders necessary to fall short. I'm going to say it's going to be Florida State. Gators at home protect the home field. 21-16, ugly, nasty, sloppy game. This game should have been televised 8 a.m. on Cartoon Network, if we're being totally honest. But I think the Gators somehow, some way, find a way. Maybe it's my own stubbornness. Maybe it's my own I can't get off this Florida team. But I'm going to go Florida 21-16 to get the win over FSU.
I mean, did we call Disney and see if they want to do like the Toy Story Bowl? Because that would have been great.
Hey, we'll broadcast it.
That's right. SECU would gladly go to the game if you're paying for us to air it on our television platform, which we don't have. But anyways, look, I think that right now, the way that I'm looking at this team and the way that I am viewing how we've seen Florida play, you got to fight for yourself. Like nothing else. It's not for the fans. It's not for your next head coach. Those are things that matter. You got to fight for you. Because let's just be real. Do you really want to go down as the 3-9 Florida Gators when we all pegged you to be a sleeper for the college football playoff? A lot of us had the record flip to 9-3. We thought that this would be a must-see matchup at the end of the year, and that DJ Lagway would be in the right spot, and that Jaden Baugh would already be fighting for a Doak Walker Award finish. I do think that you are going to see history be made when it comes to Jaden Baugh. He is too good of a running back to be left out of the 1,000-yard conversation. He'll be the first running back since 2015 to accomplish that feat in Gainesville. But I don't think that there's a lot of buy-in right now. I don't. I think a lot of people are focusing in too much on the transfer portal, thinking in on what is going to be the next head coach. I think that the entire staff right now is looking at where are we going to move next? Are we going to be employed on the staff next year? So they're making phone calls. And Florida State still is playing for bowl eligibility. I think that plays a factor into it. I think that's a big reason why you are going to see Florida State be able to handle this matchup. It will be back and forth, a mediocrity and mistake-ridden football. But I think that the Seminoles end the season on a high note. They get to bowl eligibility. I am going to rock with Florida State 24-13. Very, very low scoring, ugly affair, multiple turnovers, and just go ahead and shut the casket. And then as we lay down the 2025 season that was Florida football into its grave, we throw cement on it and dynamite, and then we light that thing ablaze and just hopefully never have to see this season ever occur in the swamp again. Because of, my God, there have been embarrassing years. This one may take the cake in the last 25 seasons.
3-9 potentially, Bear, after many of us thought Florida and college football playoff was a realistic outcome. Crazy to think. But either way, Florida State. Guys, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Love to hear your predictions. I'm going with the Gators. Bears going with the Seminoles. We'd love to hear your predictions. Florida or Florida State. Who you picking to win this game Saturday afternoon in Gainesville? Guys, it's going to do all for us. We appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Before we get out of here, doing a tell you about our friends over at FanDuel, because as always, we are brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. It's NBA tip-off week. FanDuel is your home for live betting. Even if you miss the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel's got live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. However you want to play, now is the perfect time to join, because FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/SECU to sign up today. That's FanDuel.com/SECU. Play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Guys, once again, that's going to do all for us. We appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Check us out. We'll get your podcasts all across your favorite social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. For Cole Bear Thompson, I'm Chris Phillips. We're signing off. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you all on the other side.